my name is Michelle Puzo, and welcome to Your Community Reach. I am the Executive Director of Your Community Cares, and we are a nonprofit in Manchester serving older adults and people with disabilities. And today I'm in West Haven with Rich Howard, and he started our Journey of Sight. And we have this beautiful banner behind us, and I was just involved with their support group, so I got to see firsthand how their support group runs. So thank you so much for being with me today, Rich.
Thank you for coming.
So West Haven, I've been here a few times. It's a wonderful town, right near the water. It's absolutely beautiful, but we are not at the ocean today. We're in the library. The West Haven Library is who is hosting these programs. So that's wonderful that they're willing to work with you to bring people together and share resources.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us a little bit about what your journey has been? What was your career? Did you grow up here in West Haven?
So I am a Stratfordite. I was born in Bridgeport, but raised in Stratford and had all my schooling there. Graduated Stratford High. A few years after, I attended Housatonic Community College in Bridgeport, and I did about a semester and a half and figured it was time to get out and get a real job kind of thing. So primarily I am or was a blue-collar worker, and started out kind of in the non-skilled labor, just doing whatever I could do. And through the years I worked my way up and started working for a few, not only they paid better, but some more technical type of work. Later in my career, I kind of shifted over to the aerospace, and I did subcontracting for companies that did work for Sikorsky, Command Aerospace, that type of thing. So basically when I say my background is blue collar, it's primarily electrical and mechanical technician, building machinery, wiring machinery. So again, through the years, I graduated up to not only a better pay scale, but building more complex type of products.
I know my dad was an electrician. He went to school, a technical high school, and I know that having a trade is so important. And I know now, with 10,000 people are retiring every day. Right. So the amount of people that are retiring, we need people that are blue collar. We need more people to think about a trade, because there is a lot of money in trades.
Sure.
And there's so many positions that are available. So that's great to hear that you had that technical background as well. So tell me a little bit about your sight loss journey. When did it begin? What age?
So basically I was born with bad eyesight, and for people who probably aren't aware, there's what they call Stickler syndrome, and it's 1 in 7,500 children will be born with that, and I'm one of the unlucky ones. So with Stickler syndrome, I was born in 1957, and they didn't really discover it. Doctor that discovered it, Stickler, that's how it got its name, he didn't really discover it until 1966. So the issues I was having growing up as a child really didn't come to light until the early 1970s. So getting to my eyesight per se, as a child and up until just before I went into high school, I was wearing thick glasses, and going into the time I entered high school, the soft contacts had come out, and so I was a candidate for that. So we ditched the glasses and went with the contacts, and I wore those up until around 2001. And at that point, laser surgery had started to come out, and they were doing free laser. You'd come in to see if you were a candidate to have it done. Okay. So what happens, I went to an eye doctor, and I was not a candidate for the laser surgery, LASIK they used to call it. But what they did find is I had the start of a cataract in one of my eyes, and at that time I was only in my 40s. So they thought that was kind of unusual to have it so young. And then the following year I had cataract in my other eye, and when you have cataracts done, they put implants in. So that, even though cataracts wasn't a good thing, it actually worked in my favor because the implants, I was able to see really well. For the first time, waking up in bed and looking over and seeing a clock without putting my glasses on or without popping a contact lens in. With the implants, I actually had some really good vision. So with that, it eventually turned into, going back to the doctors and, keeping an eye on that. The next thing I ran into was I have the onset of glaucoma, which is a part of the Stickler syndrome. It's kind of inherited in that syndrome that people do get. They get cataracts, they also will be getting glaucoma. It's kind of like the package deal, if you will. So the glaucoma ramped up in around 2004, and I had a surgery done in one eye, and it was not successful. And we, at Yale here in New Haven, and it was not successful, and they wanted to do another surgery. I opted not to, and I decided to keep what vision I had. Whenever you go under any type of surgery in the eye, there's always a risk that you could lose total vision, so I opted not to go. So that's where I am now. I have glaucoma. I am what they consider legally blind. I have vision only in one eye now. As of 2019, I had vision in both eyes, and as the years slipped away, now I'm only using my left eye for vision.
Wow, that is quite the journey you have.
Yeah, it's a good start. Not a good start, but a start.
And it sounds like it can be a very draining journey. Just listening to this, there's so many doctor's appointments, so many surgeries, so much you have had to do to try to hold on to your sight.
Right.
How is that mentally and physically for you?
Well, mentally, if you can imagine putting this aside and going back to when it was around in my 30s, I was clinically diagnosed with moderate to severe depression. And it had nothing to do with my eyesight. I had vision back then. The depression, they really didn't get to the bottom of it, but I believe it was from my childhood. It wasn't a rough childhood, but it had a lot of things that weren't a normal, a regular family didn't go through. So with that in mind, you figure, here I am in my 30s with clinically depressed, and they put me on Paxil and Celexa and some other antidepressants, and they just were making my life miserable. So I took myself off them, and the doctors weren't really too happy with that. And so I went through, my 30s, now I'm in my 60s. I wasn't on any type of antidepressant at all, and I just took the depression as it came, or when it came. But when I started to lose my eyesight in 2019, this not only affected my eyesight, my day-to-day living, obviously, but the depression, it came back 110% on top of losing my vision. And that's kind of the root of why, even though I'm jumping ahead quite a bit here, but the catalyst of being depressed already and then losing my vision, it put me in a really bad place. I would think that most of the people that attend my group had the experience what I went through, and that was part of the passion that drove me to start a group. Losing my vision on top of the depression, and then right around that time, 2001, we had the pandemic. So I was in need of some type of counseling and some type of support group, and the state was shut down. There was nothing to be had. People weren't coming out to the house, and there was no facility to go. So I had to tough it out on my own. And then as the pandemic broke, I was able to reach out to different agencies, and they really came through for me. And that's why again, with the support group, I compiled a lot of resources, and I said I really need to get back to the community, and so that was the main catalyst of starting this whole support group, was to give people coming into the blind community, if you will, a jump start, a place to go where you can get information, and it was like a one-stop shop, if you will. So.
Well, I think you're very brave for telling us that, because I think so many people go through internal struggles and aren't always very comfortable sharing that. So I do appreciate you sharing that with us, because having depression, but then you said having vision loss on top of that and becoming legally blind. I think there are so many variables. Everybody's story and situation is different. But tell me what when you talked about there were certain organizations that were helpful, what did you find was the olive branch that really reached you?
Well, what really helped me out was an organization called Anna Haven Behavioral. I'm not sure what the last part of that was. I think it's behavioral. There was another. I don't know if it was called an organization, but it was called Anna Haven Behavioral Therapy. Maybe I guess I would call it. So during the pandemic, my wife actually worked for a nursing home, and she worked in upper management, and she had to be there every day, and she would come home with stories of, we had 3 patients die today, and then, she became attached to some of these people, and so she had her own issues going on coming home from work, and my talk therapy really helped me. It started out with 2 days a week. It was a Tuesday and a Thursday. And this girl would call me. I call her girl because she was a lot younger than me, but she was starting out to be a therapist. And she'd call me on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it would be an hour session each time, and she was like clockwork. I knew she'd call at 11 o'clock, and I'd sit by the phone. At 11 o'clock, that phone would ring, and I knew who it was. And I really looked forward to expressing how I felt. I'm home alone, so I can say pretty much whatever I want, as far as if I wanted to say something about my family or something like that, and just feel free, because this person doesn't know me, and they don't know anybody in my family, so whatever I say is not only confidential, but it would never get back, because she doesn't know the people I know, per se. So we connected, we made a bond, and at the end of all the talk therapy, I never ended up meeting this person. It was all done over the phone. But talk therapy in itself, it opens up a part of you that you would tell this person things you wouldn't normally tell somebody in the family. And why is that? Because you'd be afraid of it getting back to the person you're talking about. So with talk therapy, you can really let loose and say, this person in the family, my son-in-law or my daughter or maybe my grandchildren or maybe my own brother or my own sister. When you draw these people into your conversation, the therapist begins to get a feeling of what you deal with. Who are your people? Who are your connections on a day-to-day or a week or monthly basis? So she got to know all the players, which helped when I started to describe to her in my next session. I would tell her, I have a party going to next week. And she'd say, well, how do you feel about that? And I said, well, I'm not really crazy about it, but it's for my granddaughter and my grandson, and I really feel I need to be there. But in my head, I don't want to be around all these people. But I have to show up for the kids. So that's a tough line to break, where mentally you're not ready to sit in a room full of people, and that's all your family. But mentally I'm not ready to sit and laugh and partake, because in my head I want to be home. I'm not ready for this yet. So you get put in this positions where you're not ready, but you got to tough it out, per se. So the talk therapy would be a nice way to, I mentioned I'm going to a party, like I say. So the following week when I had the conversation, she'd say, hey, Rich, how'd you make out at the party? I know you were kind of reluctant to go. And tell me how that went. And I would tell her. I got there, and I was kind of not talking. And then, however it went, and I would discuss how that party went. And then she would say, well, it sounds like, you weren't really comfortable there, but, you kept your cool and you didn't lash out at anybody, or, you didn't, make a scene like, I don't want to be here and make people feel bad. I kept it in. So the talk therapy really helped with expressing yourself to somebody else, your true feeling about really what's going on in your life. It didn't really revolve around the vision issue as much as how are you coping as a person with all this? How are you getting out? When you leave the house, what are your thoughts? And I came to a point where, and my wife would verify this, that I came to a part of the depression, it overruled. I would be in the easy chair, or the lazy boy, if you will, all day long. I would not answer the phone. I did not watch TV or miss. I couldn't. Any noise, any stimulation like that would really bother me. So I couldn't have the TV on, and I would answer phone calls, and my wife would call and say, hey, pick up the phone, let me know you're okay. I wouldn't do it. And I know that was bothering her because she's like, I don't know if you fell down, whatever, and you're making me worry that you're not answering. But I cut off communication with everybody, even though I realized later that's not the way to go, but that's how I felt. And so my wife would come home from work, and there I am, the lazy boy with a blanket over me, the TV's off, and she'd say, how's your day? And I'm just kind of look at her, and she put the TV on and, want to watch whatever, and I would go upstairs. So she was taking it that I don't want to be around her. I told her, it's not you. I don't want the TV. It annoys me. The sound, the voice, didn't matter what was on. It just really agitated me. I needed to go upstairs, and I needed to be in a quiet place. And that went on for months. It went on where, let's jump in the car and go down to the park and we'll take a walk around. No, I don't want to go. Well, you don't have to get out of the car. We'll just go for a ride. I don't want to get in the car. I don't want to leave the house. And so it really got bad, and the depression really won over. And with the talk therapy, slowly I was able to start to come around. And, again, you have to figure in the time. There's a bad time, and then you kind of grow out of it, if you will, but it's at your own pace. Nobody can really help you along. So eventually I kind of came around, and I was starting to feel a little better about myself. And so that's kind of how that picked up.
These licensed therapists can really be life-changing.
Oh, for sure.
And there's the opportunity now, out of COVID, obviously, to be in person with a therapist, or there's so many mental health providers, like you said, that are virtual,
right,
that you could be on the phone with, or on a Zoom call, or teleconferencing, in so many different ways. So
right,
I really appreciate that information, because I think so many people are afraid to take that first step.
Right.
Recognize you need help, and then call somebody to get help,
right,
or go online to try to get help.
Find
and that is so important.
People think of, if you reach out to a psychiatrist or psychologist, you get a stigmatism. Oh, they're crazy. They're reaching out. There's a crazy guy. And it's not that at all. It's, you need somebody to guide you and then change a little bit something. Your train of thought needs to be changed. And only you can do that. But sometimes you need a trigger from outside. And it may not be a family member or a close relative or a son or a daughter or whatever. It needs to be somebody on the outside who's objective to say, I hear what you're saying, and this is what you kind of need to do. And then again, it's up to the person to follow through. I mean, I tell the people in my group, I can bring all these agencies in that will teach you about this or that, or whatever, but unless you pick that up and you make the phone call or whatever when you get home, I can't hold your hand. You have to do these things on your own. So.
Yes. So again, today we're in West Haven at the West Haven Library, which is where they hold their support groups on a monthly basis. It's the third Friday
of every month.
Every month from 10 to 12.
10 to 12.
And you can find Rich Howard by phone.
I don't use my email address, but I have a phone number, and that number is 203-214-7631. It's my cell. I'm not set up as a corporation or a, what do they call the nonprofits? I'm not a nonprofit. I consider myself a grassroots. So anything I spend on this group, whether it's water or copies of whatever material I need to copy, it's all out of pocket. I don't mind doing it. I don't really qualify for a 501. There's a lot of paperwork and red tape involved.
But if there was a business here in West Haven that would like to sponsor the group, that would probably be
That would be
welcome.
great. Yeah, I could definitely use the help and some more PR, if you will. We had the mayor here last year, and she was able to get me into some of the local town newspapers. So every little bit, I mean.
So we're talking about disabilities in general, accessibility. So this is a location where when we got here today, we were able to easily get into the elevator, come down stairs, which was a great option. Accessibility in every town is so vital. Thinking about, are the websites accessible? So many people are using VoiceOver now, right? So everybody's online using technology, their smartphones. And if you don't have the vision to be able to see the words, they put on VoiceOver. And so every town needs to be thinking, is my town's website accessible so that vision impaired people can access a town resources?
Right, correct.
And town departments. So if anybody's interested, the West Haven Chamber of Commerce or anyone that's interested to sponsor this event, again, it's once a month. What if your business wanted to come down and bring some munchkins, right? Bring some donuts. Everybody loves food, and it's just a great group. I mean, they're trying to have fun. They're trying to share resources with one another. And we had Eileen here, who is from Milford.
The Milford Senior Center. Yep.
And so many other towns are coming here to learn from Rich how he's growing his group. And it's the spectrum of people. It's not just blind people. It's not just low vision people. It's a spectrum of people with any type of vision loss and their caregivers.
Right.
Because those folks also need to feel supported.
They need to have some information on what the person they're taking care of. A lot of tips and tricks that they could use on their own as well.
So we will be, on April 24th, we'll be at the Waterbury Senior Center. That is where we're having, your Community Cares is hosting an eye health fair, and Rich will be there.
I will.
And so we're really excited to be able to bring these eye health fairs to different towns to be able to bring resources together. So April 24th at the Waterbury Senior Center. You can call the Waterbury Senior Center to register. And if you register, you can have a free lunch. So we're really excited for that event.
Sure.
So why would somebody come to join your group? How could we encourage more people to come and be vocal about their needs and what your group offers?
Well, before I started this group, and I had given it a lot of thought, and I had contacted some people that I didn't know personally, but that I had talked to before in other conversations. And the two main organizations I focused on was BESB, which is Bureau of Education Services for the Blind, and I had worked with many different departments, if you will, within BESB, and took advantage of their services. And the other one was the NFB, National Federation of the Blind, which I'm also a member, and I'm actually running for a council position. So we'll see how that turns out. So before I started the group, I contacted some people at the top, and I said, I'm looking to start a group, and being that I'm kind of new to the blind community, and I'm out of my depression, I'll never be free of depression, but I'm out of that mode that I was in. And so I contacted a few people, and I said, I want to start a support group. What would you suggest the do's and don'ts are? And the main thing I heard from a few people that I highly respect and regard their comments, and they said a lot of support groups come and go, and the reason they're hard to keep going is the content. And so what I was told in a roundabout way, and I'll actually use the words somebody had said to me, if you run a boohoo, it's called a boohoo support group, which means the people you're gonna set up shop, and your support group is going to be based on, or you're going to allow a boohoo type group, which is people that are going to come in that are blind or low vision, and they're going to complain about, we can't do this, we can't do that, and their whole subject line of why they're at the group is going to be based around, I used to do this and I can't, and I used to do that and I won't do that anymore, or whatever. And so I took that and I said, that's really a good idea. This is because I wouldn't want, if I was going to a support group, I wouldn't want to sit through that, especially all the stuff I went through. And now I'm going to the support group and I'm hearing people how they're maybe in a somewhat depressed stage. And I can't be any help there. I've been there and out, and I really don't want to get involved and touch base with that in any way. So my support groups are based on it. When I started my first group, I asked people in the group, I said, can anybody tell me what the word support means? You heard about support groups. What is a support? And I got crickets. Nobody said anything. I said, well, support, the word itself means to lift or to hold up. Like a support beam or whatever type of thing, to put it in layman's terms. So a support group is to lift each other up. And that's far from being a boo-hoo group. So when I put all that together, and with the passion I had from all the things I went through, and I was down in the dumps. I won't get into a lot about, but I was in really bad shape. I was not too far from being admitted into a psych ward because I was not living life normally. People would ask me how I'm doing, and my answer was, I'm existing. I'm not well, I'm not good, I'm not bad, I'm not fair, I'm existing, which means I'm just here. And I'm not moving in any direction, I'm not doing anything with my life. I feel like a failure. And once I put all that behind me, the passion came through. And I always do this. I know the people in the group a lot of them can't see me, but the passion comes from here. And then the idea comes from up here. You can't have it the other way. You can't have, I have an idea and then I have a passion. That's not how it works. You have a passion to say there's a need, and I think I can fulfill that need. How am I going to get that across? That's where the idea comes, a support group. And this is how I'm going to do it. And so it's not going to be a boo-hoo group. It's going to be a positive group, and I'm going to be in charge. And when I call myself the president, I'm not trying to make myself sound bigger than I am, because I don't want the fame and fortune. But I chose president for the main fact that a president is responsible. A president takes the blame. A president is all that a support group, you need to have that title. Because when things like people start talking, or the cell phone, it's up to the president to step in and say, hey, let's cut the cell phone thing, or let's cut the chatter. You can't rely on somebody else in the group. They're not running it, it's you're running it. So I tend to be a little strict, and I tried it out early on, and people seemed to, they healed, they went with my thing. And then as I got more into doing more meeting, more group sessions, I said, well, this is who I am. My passion is driving me, and I may be a little rough when I do my meetings. I don't like people playing it. We're here for business. There'll be time for fun. So,
and I think I saw that firsthand today, that we had a great group filled with inspiration, filled with hope and resilience. So if you want to get involved and you want to come to one of the support group meetings, feel free to reach out to Rich, or just come on the third Friday of the month from 10 and try to arrive promptly at 10. If you want more information, Rich's phone number again is
203-214-7631.
And thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for joining Your Community Reach, and we will see you again soon.